special guest. His name is Dave Hancocks,
owner of Archie David Cars, with many years' experience in the motor trade.
Jim down the back alley with an oily rag is actually your friend in this business, and he's less likely to catch you than these big glass palace main dealer places. You're paying for that showroom.
Yeah.
You're paying for the big white smiles and the glossy brochures.
This is John,
and this is Nick.
and this is How It Is.
I think it's
we have
become,
quite a few of them, do not.
it seems to me
People
it's become,
understand business full stop.
Yeah.
well, no.
It's fundamentally
Well,
simple,
Like,
but
we've
a lot
learned a
of-
hell of a lot. You know, in the nearly 5 years, oh my God, this business has been business 101.
Yeah.
Well, I always thought that I knew quite a bit. I knew nothing. And we still I make mistakes on a daily basis.
Oh, me too.
But it goes back to
But
Dave,
you've got to learn
something
from it.
we
Yeah.
spoke about just before we were filming, which is, you know, you have to bring good people into the business.
Yeah.
But I think that seems really difficult in the motor trade. The margins just don't seem to be there to build a team that you really need, and then you end up working 80 hours a week because you can't run it with staff.
It is difficult, and it's very difficult to find the sweet spot with employing staff. In sales staff, certainly, in terms of being too heavily reliant on a commission-based role, so they're railroading your customers and they're jumping all over them and pushing them into things, which inevitably blow out before delivery. To pay them too much basic, and they're just sat back and not, perhaps doing what they should, and that's always a problem in any sales-based industry. It's always going to be. There's no sound bite. There's no easy answer to that.
And it seems to me that with the pressures on the car dealers' margins and stuff, that just almost encourages people to cut corners, even when
Yeah,
they
it does,
wouldn't want to.
But I've seen some horrendously prepped cars in some quite prestigious dealerships.
Well, it's one of the reasons, we have our fingers in with Sun Motors, as you know, and everybody has to be FCA authorised, because otherwise, unlike other
And good reviews
yeah,
as well.
good reviews,
stuff
a
like
lot
that,
of
yeah.
things.
Yeah, no, I have to jump through hoops to join some motors, and rightly so.
And that's right, because otherwise it's just a race to the bottom.
It needs to be a level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it always seems to be like, let's say we talked about barbers, and you can apparently open a barber's anywhere. But if you look at like a corner shop, you can't then undercut the corner shop by selling out your front window.
No.
So go, I'm not going to have a premises, I'm not going to have a till, I'm just going to open up my sash window. But that's what the motor trade's doing, isn't it?
Sign up,
I don't need a site, I'm just going to sell it from my front driveway. That's
There is a lot of that,
really dangerous.
but most of the motor trade started like that, and I think that needs to exist,
Okay.
because ultimately there's a packing order, and the cars we sell are predominantly main dealer part exchanges sourced from main dealers. The vehicles they sell are newer cars sourced from rental companies, sourced from the manufacturer, sourced from their own rental fleet, sourced from demos and what have you. And someone's got to buy my part exchanges. Those 500, 600, 700 quid cars that are, they've got a few years left in them, they're too good to scrap, but they're not really retail cars.
So does that then go
Someone's got
back
to buy
to
them,
the
haven't they?
Consumer Rights Act around the protection shouldn't be the same, but then is it also fair to say the customer should understand that there's not going to be the same protections? Because again, I think the problem there is that the customer, whatever they're buying, rightly or
That's
wrongly,
a reasonable person, though, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
but again,
I
it
think-
depends where it falls, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
The test of reasonableness always falls to a court to decide,
Yeah.
or some kind of arbitration, and none of this is for nothing.
Yeah.
There's a cost to all of it, and we certainly found initially when we started 5-6 years ago on the previous site, the one we're on now, we found that the cheaper the car, the more needed a customer, and when we moved, where our baseline was like 5,000-6,000, we found that people were less likely to complain about trivial things, even though they'd spent more money.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time now, our customers, if there's a little problem, they just get it fixed themselves, and rather than come back and get, I don't want to come across as snobbish or in any way. If you only got £2,500, you can only buy a £2,500 car, and good luck to you.
You haven't got another 500 quid in case of brakes.
No,
have you?
that's right.
That's the thing.
But
yeah.
that's the thing. And when I first started in this business, I had a little 15 car site, very near the one I got now, and it would be a queue of people on a Monday morning. my window's gone down, it won't go back up, my car's cut out, I got to take the kids to school. You always got kids in the car. You've never had
They're always going on holiday.
Or back frozen shopping defrosted. And it's the same old, isn't it? So we found that just by turning it up that little bit, we seem to have found a better customer. Sounds ungrateful, doesn't it? But you know, a less problematic customer, should we say?
Does some of that come back to process? So, like, do you explain to customers what the limitations of the rights are and stuff like that? Do you sell warranty? So they're trying to take some responsibility and stuff like that.
We've recently started selling an extended warranty again. We eventually found a warranty company that one of their things is that they will pay for wear and tear, because it's the same old thing with warranties, isn't it? If the cop out is wear and tear every time, because if you didn't use it and you left it on your driveway, then it wouldn't wear out and it wouldn't break, would it? No. And for too long, warranty companies have took money off dealers and not stood behind them and you know, stood on when there's been a claim. And obviously, an insurance company, a warranty company, all work the same. The way they make money is by not paying your claims, isn't it? And we found now a company to partner with, and we're very pleased with what they're doing. There have been a couple of claims, and they've paid them straight off. But we sell an upgraded extended warranty, but our own warranty is 3 months, and there's no real written terms to it. It's a reasonable warranty for reasonable people. If you go in a pothole and you break a spring, that's your spring. If you put the window down and don't go back up, that's our window. Yeah. And we're as reasonable people we're as reasonable with people as they are with us. And I think that's all we can be. Most people are decent, aren't they?
You know? And then you get the occasional one ringing up going, I'm ringing trading standards after this.
I mean, I've encouraged if you like that to ring trading standards, because
the trading standards are there for you as well.
It is a two-way street, and quite a lot of the time, you know, trading standards and citizens advice and things have told customers just to calm down, and you know, you're being unreasonable, and quite a lot of the time we side with them, but you never really get them that far, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not quite.
If I don't like you, I just give your money back. Just sell the car again to someone who's
move on.
Yeah, it's not worth. Refund and move on is an expression that we just use too much in this industry. And whilst it is too easy to roll over, you have got to pick your fights, you know.
We have it occasionally. There's some people just do not see the value in what we do, and you know, there's nothing we can do to try and make them happy. And we just say, look, have your money back. We don't want to deal with you anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, you remember that guy in France, and he was threatening you because you said we're not.
I was in France.
We were in France. We were in France.
He was going to come down and smash the offices up
because you said he wasn't going to be on a bronze package for £25 a month.
Yeah, that was it.
Can't fix stupid.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
How has technology? How has that kind of changed the way that selling cars is for you?
I don't know. I wouldn't say we were resistant to technology, but we don't use a DMS. We're bits of paper. We're purchase invoices. We're manually written paper invoices. And yeah, I know. It's
you have a platinum package and you got invoicing built in. Just saying. Just saying that.
Scandalous plugs. Unlike you, John, to try and upsell me. It works for us, and it keeps things simple. It's a manual system, but it's all uploaded. We use a piece of accounting software called Dex. It's very simple.
No, Dex is
big fans of Dex.
Big fans of Dex.
Big shout out. Dex makes things nice and easy.
What I will say is, like, you know, we do your annual returns for you. For a silver package. What's due for that? It's going to be a monumental change to the industry. You know, so much so that we've kind of have to have meetings of, do we even continue doing the silver package? Because it's, well, how many questions?
You can put me on a better one for the same money.
The way I explain it is, if we've got to call people, get all the details manually, they've got to get it together, then we've got to report it. The cost of doing that may be more than if someone's using the system and it's getting the data for themselves and then transferring it. So it's a big change. It's a huge report. Like, so if, for instance, I asked you to find the data on what was your biggest and smallest finance settlement of the year and the average, I'm guessing that's not going to be pretty easy to find.
Okay. No, really.
How many finance applications you sent over? How many weren't taken up by the customer after they've made an offer? It's ridiculous, isn't it?
These are things.
Questions will be there.
See, we approach finance quite differently to most people. I understand most independents have 5 or 6 direct lenders that they will prop people to, and maybe a broker sat in the background for the declines or as a second tier. we work exclusively with DSG, we have done since our inception, and I can pull all that data out of their system. Whether your system will talk to their system, I don't know.
We're always working on trying to get systems to talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's getting the people at the systems to talk to each other. It's the difficult bit.
Yeah, I think they're going automotive sales AI. Is that going to
at least partially?
Yeah. So yeah,
but we work well with DSG amongst all of the brokers. The brokers are available. Technology's funny though, isn't it? Because I think whatever it comes down to, Dave, you said you use a lot of paper. It's still a system, isn't it? I'm guessing your guys are still trained on this is how things have to be filed.
This is how you fill out a piece of paper, and this is how you file it.
Ironically, we're a paperless company.
We're not a huge.
Apart from these.
Apart from these ones here, and I mean, we're not a volume dealer. We've got 50, 60 cars in stock, maybe 70 on occasion. We sell 20 to 30 a month. It's not huge amounts of paper, is it? It's I'm a big fan of when you do have to use paper, just touch a piece of paper once.
Yeah.
And when I leave here today, I need to get fuel. I'll scan that straight into Dext, screw the receipt up, throw it in the door pocket of the car. It's not doesn't need to be processed and touched by a million people. No. It's if the system works for you. I think you'd be wrong not to explore other possibilities. But right now, I don't think I need a big complicated DMS. I know, I'm pretty much certain I could walk around that site and tell you what more or less every car, certainly what I paid for it, and probably when it stood me with the prep as well.
I used to be able to do that back.
Do you use the T-card boards then?
Oh God, Jesus Christ, we're not that archaic. You've only got electricity and everything.
I thought it was going to say we're not that advanced.
Yeah.
So, Dave, what do you think's coming in the motor trade for the next 5 years? Everyone always says it's quiet, but it does seem a bit quiet at the moment. What does the future hold?
I'm not some fat Bristolian Nostradamus, but I don't know. It's very, very difficult to say, isn't it? I think for sure manufacturers are making cars harder to fix, and I think a time will come where you buy a car from a manufacturer, you lease a car, you PCP a car, whatever, it needs to go there for servicing. They won't sell parts to the aftermarket. Their systems won't interrogate. And I'm ringing for parts for cars now quite a lot, and people, that's main dealer only, that's main dealer only. I think that is going to become more prevalent.
What does that do to the used market then, like post 3 years old market? Or 6 years old if there's a 6 year warranty, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, yeah, potentially. I think it just restricts choice and restricts competition, and that's entirely a bad thing. We got to look very carefully at prep costs now when we're buying used cars into stock, and it, this is broken or that's missing, or we need to be more aware that one you get from elsewhere might not fit, might not be compatible, might not be programmable, etc. And yeah, no, it has got more complicated for sure. And trends for the future, we've certainly noticed a huge reliance on finance now. Maybe it's because we've moved into slightly more expensive cars, I don't know, but I think 5 years ago, it'd be fair to say 80% of our customers were, outright purchasers, should we say. And I would think that we're probably at 50% finance penetration now.
See, that's funny because we see a lot of people, talking about maybe getting authorised, and bless everyone, they always say the compliance guys will help you. But then you get people going, I don't offer finance, there's no point. It's completely
because they would never ask for it. Yeah, that's an easy road to get dragged down, and I was caught up with that as well. When you advertise cars with a monthly amount, you double the amount of people that car becomes accessible to. And the reason you never get asked for finance is because you don't advertise finance. You don't advertise cars with a monthly payment, and that is a huge.
Go on, say it. Say DFS. Go on.
Oh, I wasn't going to do that. It's like everyone goes to DFS because they know they offer finance. It's not because they sell the best sofas at the best price.
Because they're always having a sale, John. Sure.
That's always sure. Yeah, ends on Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday when? Which Wednesday?
But it's right. You're absolutely right. People, if there's a hairdresser that cuts men's hair, you don't ring them as a man unless they say they cut men's hair.
This is right.
Yeah.
If
you don't offer finance, people aren't going to ask, are they?
No, I mean, we still get people ring us and ask us if we do part exchange. I mean, surely doesn't everybody do part exchange?
My favourite used to be use
It's
your
on
dealer
dealer
facilities.
facilities,
Yeah. And I used to ask dealers when they put that on their adverts, what does that mean? And they go, well, it means we do finance and part exchange.
I thought it meant-
You realise it means people think you've got a toilet.
What a selection of gentlemen's interest magazines as used to be.
Only tear offs of them.
Yeah, pages stuck together.
I'm not going to go down that route. I'm not going to get sucked into that.
I don't know how far we've got in, but we got to that point where it's inappropriate. Dave, I don't think you've sworn yet, which I'm very, very pleased about.
I'm not going to lie, Nick, it has been.
It's been a task.
It's really.
Especially when you're asking me about emotive subjects, so generally drop an old fat beer on there.
Oh, there we go. There we go. He's lowered the
That was a
tone.
bit contrived, to be fair. But no, it's yeah.
I tell you what. Have you got any questions for the compliance guys?
Any chance of a discount?
You've already got one. No. So no one gets a discount.
No, I haven't got any questions really. I'm full of praise for you guys because you've made what was quite a daunting process applying for that license back, 5-6 years ago. It's even got even worse now.
It's much like I'll say this for the camera. Well, what used to take us around about 1 hour to do now takes us 16 to 20 hours to do. And
we couldn't do it ourselves.
Yeah,
That's what we
could
said.
not do it
We
ourselves.
couldn't do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And this business was built on the fact that me and John used to do licenses.
Yeah.
And that's what we got in. And we genuinely couldn't do it now ourselves without the team.
we have to write bespoke policies, around 6 or 7 bespoke, and they have to be bespoke.
Yeah.
Because the FCA
You don't
uses-
just smash it all into AI then.
No, because it can be found out. They use plagiarizing software.
No way.
Yes. So, and we know because originally we tried it and we used it and they went, nah.
What would be
we've
really
seen this
helpful
before."
is if they just wrote their shit in plain English. You know what I mean? That would be an awful lot easier. I've got
But
a
then-
reasonably broad vocabulary. I'm
But then
not
it goes
stupid.
back to not knowing your own business. Like, we coach people along the way,
Yeah, we have to.
processes and bits and pieces. What I'd like to think really now is that the people getting authorised will be of a higher level of knowledge of compliance
Yeah.
than they were previously
Yeah.
because they have to pass an FCA interview, for instance.
Yeah.
So we've constantly improved along the way. And I think that's why that part stood the test of time. We know we are the
Absolutely.
best at doing the authorisation.
Evolution, not revolution.
If that's what you
That's a David Brent quote, actually.
That'd be me.
Yeah, you were
I'm
quite
the David
Brent,
Brent
actually.
of
You were
compliance.
fully Brent.
Definitely.
So,
any
Dave,
other
we're now
questions?
going to
No,
do
it's been a good
quick
chat.
fire
No,
questions,
thanks, guys.
making
Appreciate
sure.
having me.
Yeah.
Love it.
What is the biggest
Well, yeah,
difficulty
that's
you faced in your business?
Right. Customers.
Full stop. Well, that was definitely quick.
Well, yeah, you wanted a soundbite. That was fine. If they were less fussy and more generous, then I could retire earlier and go and live somewhere
Is
warm.
it the buyers are liars?
Yeah, I mean, it's unrealistic expectations of what a certain amount of money buys you. That's the difficult.
Okay.
What's the most critical skill to being successful in business?
Tenacity.
Good.
I think I
Yeah,
definitely agree with
if
that.
you want one word, that, and just getting out of bed every morning and being a badass motherfucker and going to work. That's completely it.
What's the biggest risk you've taken in business?
Yeah, I mean, recently, 3 and a bit years ago, was offered someone wanted to buy me out, and it was half decent money, but I didn't take it, and quite often I think maybe I should have, but I didn't, and a year ago I nearly doubled the amount of stock I had, and went forward rather than getting out. So yeah, that really.
And that's the tenacity, I guess.
Well, it is tenacity to a certain extent. I don't know. It may be naivety, it may be stupidity. I don't know. But we've got an awful lot more cars. I don't seem to earn an awful lot more money. But the customers have an awful lot more choice.
Talking
And stock
about
ultimately drives sales, doesn't it?
yeah. So talking about stupidity, what's the worst car you've ever bought? Or the most stupid car you've
John
ever
is
bought?
itching to answer this on my behalf. Okay, so drunk a few years ago, I bought a Japanese imported Renault Twizy. Which sits proudly at the front of my site and is advertised on Auto Trader for a frankly very optimistic 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably buying that to be honest. But
What did you pay for it?
I can't say.
I
Was it
pass
more than
that
10
car
grand?
every
No,
day
no,
going
loads
home.
less. If you really want to know, it was 6. But that's not indicative of a normal
That just
margin of a
shows.
10 grand car.
That just shows that you really like having that car on site. Otherwise, you would have reduced it.
Funniest thing to drive, and everybody looks at you. Admittedly, when they're looking at you, that they're pointing and laughing, but it does draw attention.
You did actually lend it out for a funeral as well.
Yeah, I had,
That's very nice
I had a
of you.
phone. Yeah, it was a very strange situation. We had a phone call, and a girl said that she wanted to borrow our Renault Twizy for a funeral, and my instant thought was taking a piss. Right, I thought it was like my funeral the day I bought it. And she said her late father-in-law had one, and he had to sell it when he got ill, and he loved Renault Twizys for some unknown reason. I'm sure he was a great guy. Other than that, and
Someone
he
murdered
wanted
him, didn't
Did
they?
he die on an
Yeah.
acid trip?
Trip in balls. And they wanted to borrow it, but the funeral was in Cardiff, and could they borrow it? And obviously you can't drive that on the motorway, otherwise there'd be another funeral, wouldn't there? So we trailered it there, and we sent a driver with it, and they drove it in a funeral procession and put his name on a number of plates and things. And we had quite a lot of, the family were insistent that we milked it for publicity, whereas we were a little bit more reluctant, but it got us some traction on the socials, certainly. Yeah.
What's the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
I don't know that people are always very forthcoming with advice, because, particularly in the motor trade, people don't want to tell you things because they think it may be of somewhat detrimental to their business, and in some way that you may become a stronger competitor, etc. But it's very difficult. I don't really recall anyone ever giving me any specific advice. But I think the old adage of buy with your eyes is the thing, and buy what customers buy. I know a lot of people, certainly independents, who've got 20 cars in unit, and they're cars they like. Oh, we love M Series BMWs, so we've got 20 of them. Well, and we haven't sold any this month. Well, you've got to buy what the customers like, not what you like. Otherwise, it just turns into a museum.
Okay, well, so you've used that one up, so I'm not going to let you do it again. What we're going to do is, for the next guest, what's a key piece of business advice that you would give on? And we're going to have the next guest discuss that piece of business advice.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I don't necessarily know if I should be sat here dispensing advice, but I would say stick at it and go with your gut and smell what sells. And that's 3 things, but hey, pick one.
Any other questions?
No, it's been a good chat.
No, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me in.